In this Little Rock, Arkansas company's computers resides the greatest single source of personal marketing data in the world.
You think they're scared?
They may be.
The man who built Axiom is far from the cloak and dagger type one might expect to find running such an enterprise. He is Charles Morgan, race car driver, airplane pilot,
I've activated the approach going to 120 on the heading.
and Axiom's company leader, as he is formally titled.
These guys here are monitoring the worldwide network.
Right.
You know, we have got connections to all of our clients.
Axiom collects and manages more than 3 billion records a day.
You say you have 17 billion data elements, almost all the households in the U.S., 70 million properties in the U.S., the most comprehensive repository of accurate telephone numbers in the U.S., both listed and unlisted.
Right. We scan or collect data from the telephone directories. We go to the internet. We also go to property records.
But in addition to gathering, sorting, and cataloging information from public records about virtually every American, Axiom has another business. Its acres of computers store private information about us, information that is gathered by the nation's banks, insurers, credit card issuers, retailers, car makers, and telecom companies. Almost every time you make a purchase, whether buying a book, going to the supermarket, or booking a trip, there's a record of your transaction, a record that's kept by the company you did business with. Using a combination of this personal information, along with its vast storehouse of public data, Axiom's computers are able to paint a remarkably detailed portrait of many Americans. Where we live, how many kids we have, where we go on vacation, where we shop, and what we like to buy. Axiom uses that information to help businesses analyze their customers and identify those individuals who would be most receptive to a particular product.
Sears is a client of Axiom's, Federated, two of the larger retailers in the country. When you're talking about them being able to access information, give me some sense here as to how that works.
Both of those companies, you know, have systems that collect information about their customers. Their goal and our goal with our infrastructure that we provide to them is to help them use that information to better serve their customers. You know, we all want stuff that's relevant to us.
Are they usually using only the data that they actually have that has been organized and analyzed in a fashion by Axiom that makes it more effective for them? Or are you also giving them other data?
Well, we help supply them with, you know, other information to help them understand, you know, their customers better.
Such as, I mean, what does that mean?
We have a product called Personics that actually groups, if you will, the whole United States population into 70 different clusters.
Clusters that are based on specific consumer behavior and demographic characteristics. If your income has gone up, or you've gotten married, or had a baby, Axiom knows. And therefore, so do businesses that can target their products to your particular life stage. While the wealth of information gathered by data mining companies is an important tool for businesses to drive sales, privacy advocates see risks.
Is it an invasion of somebody's privacy?
It's problematic for a number of reasons. People don't know who has what data about them, how this information is going to be used, the extent of the possible uses down the horizon. Will the government be able to get a hold of this information? Will the information be used for background checks, for employment? Do people have any say in saying, no, I don't want it used in this way?
Well, do they?
Currently, they don't have a lot of say because a lot of people don't know even who's gathering the data and even that they have it, let alone have the ability to exercise their right to say, hey, wait a second, I really don't like this.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today and talk a little bit about the status of federal legislation as it relates to security breaches.
Axiom is well aware of the thorny privacy issues involved with a company that deals with people's personal information. That's why it has Jennifer Barrett, one of the first privacy officers in corporate America. It's a position Barrett's held since 1991.
The world was very different. You know, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have the kinds of information that we have today. But as the 90s moved into the new century, information became more critical to our clients and more information became available.
How do you address those who start to say, wait a second, privacy? Come on, you've got all my information. That doesn't seem private.
They need to look at it from a standpoint of why do we have that information and what it's used for. Axiom brings information to companies that want to market to consumers and helps them understand what might be relevant to a particular household.
She really has it down. She knows how to explain what our company does and how to convince the public that it's not a big deal. Now, I think that she's wrong. I think that what her company does is very invasive. They have files on basically every American. They know information about how much money you make, about whether or not you have children, what your interests are.
After 9/11, it was the government that was interested in Axiom's information. The FBI issued a subpoena, and Vice President Cheney got personally involved.
Cheney really asked for a briefing just to understand himself what the private sector could do to help with the problem. The Attorney General was involved, and several other people in the Department of Justice.
Despite Morgan's contact with the Vice President and the FBI, Axiom's business with the federal government remains tiny. Not so its ever-growing mound of data.
Yeah, it just goes on and on and on. You mentioned information is just exploding. I mean, this is not going to stop. It's only going to continue,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. 20 years ago, it was too expensive to even store this data. Now, instead of storing 6 months of history, we store 6 years of history.
In 2003, some of that data was hacked from one of Axiom's servers. The company now says it has one of the most secure networks in the world. But these days, the proliferation of information is so extensive that computer hackers don't need to break into highly secure databases in order to find valuable information. In fact, sometimes the most private of things can be found in the most public of places, on Google. Johnny Long is what's known as a good guy computer hacker. He works as a researcher at the Computer Sciences Corporation from these offices near Baltimore, Maryland. It's his job to advise companies on the security of their networks, and as part of that job, he tries to break into those networks. But before he employs some of his more complex hacking techniques, Long uses Google, because he's found that a simple search of the internet using Google can turn up enough personal information to make a bad guy giddy.
You can see here that we have credit card information, expiration dates, we have folks' names, we have their addresses, their phone numbers, PayPal IDs, eBay IDs, and passwords.
The information Long can find using Google is in almost every case not intended to be shared with the entire world. It normally results from people or organizations unwittingly putting sensitive information on the internet. Google's search technology doesn't differentiate between what is private and what's not, so if it's on the internet, Google is going to find it, keep it, and make it available to everybody else. The parade of personal information seems endless.
This was a report that was put out by a city. They were having trouble with their residents paying their water bills. So what they did is they created this document that included the person's full name, their address, how much they owed, and their social security number. A lot of search engines have the ability to say, just give me Excel spreadsheets. And you can see we're able to find things like expense reports. This was a search that we did for phone bills. Okay, so you have this person's name, you have their phone number, and you can see all of the charges. This is one that was pretty scary, than actual Equifax credit report. So this lists somebody's entire credit history. This sort of searching is definitely something that's happening. I think it's part of the bigger identity theft picture. This is definitely something that the bad guys would do.
Coming up on Big Brother, Big Business.